You're about to host an amazing dinner party. You've been preparing. Everything is all set to go, including the wine that you're going to serve. But then suddenly you realize that the wine is not quite at the right temperature. What do you do? My name is Anshu Grover. I am a certified wine expert. I love to talk to you about wine. And today I'm going to talk to you about why temperature matters when it comes to your wine and what to do to fix the temperature of your wine if you find yourself in a pinch. Why does temperature matter? Simply put, wines are intended to be served at specific temperatures dependent on the style of wine we're talking about. Now, the exact temperature varies from wine style to wine style, and that's a whole video in and of itself, and I'll do a separate video on that. In this video, I just want to stress that getting wines at the right temperature is important. Now, we'll often hear that red wines can be served at room temperature, but I want you to remember this. Room temperature today is not room temperature as it was intended back in the day. Most of us keep our homes pretty warm, and that is too warm for a red wine. So when you hear serve at room temperature, you likely still do need to cool down your red wines a little bit in order to get the optimal experience. When your wines are too cold, they're going to taste lean and austere. The tannins may feel a little too much, and you just will feel like you're drinking something that's too thin and unpleasant. When your wines are too warm, you get a flabbiness, a fatness, and sort of an undefined feeling in your mouth, and an overpowering expression of alcohol, which overtakes the fruit flavors, which also impacts and interferes with your enjoyment of the wine. So you definitely want to take the time to get the temperature of your wine right. How do you do it, especially if you're in a pinch? Let's start with if your wine is too warm. So maybe you've had your wine sitting around in the dark in a closet or on the credenza in your dining room, forgotten about it, and it's too warm and you want to cool it down. Well, there's a couple of ways you can do that. The first way is easy. Pop it into the fridge. You need about 2 to 3 hours for a white wine and about 45 minutes to an hour for a red wine, and you can use your regular fridge to bring your wine down to a cooler temperature. Your second method is to use your freezer. Now, I don't recommend using the freezer as your first port of call. This is really if you're in a pinch. The reason you don't want to use your freezer all the time is because a sudden reduction in wine temperature can introduce shock to the wine in the bottle and can really change the flavor profile of that wine. Not to mention the fact that you might forget about it and then you end up with an exploded bottle of wine in your freezer, and who wants to deal with that? However, if you have to, you can use your freezer, and here's what I want you to do. Grab yourself a paper towel or a kitchen towel and soak it, make it wet, and then wrap that wet towel around your bottle and pop it into the top shelf of the freezer with a timer on. I wouldn't suggest doing it for more than about 15 or 20 minutes, but when your timer goes off, you will find that you got a nice chill on that bottle of wine. And the third option for cooling your wine down, and this is one that's used a lot by professional sommeliers, you'll have seen this done in a restaurant, is to use your ice bucket, except this is with a twist. So you're going to create what's called an ice bath. And in this case, you would put ice with water and a handful of salt in your ice bucket. The idea here is that there's a chemical reaction between the ice, the water, and the salt, which will rapidly cool down your wine, and it does it in a gentle way. The one thing you want to keep in mind, though, is that you are placing that bottle of wine into water. So if you really care about the way the label looks, this may impact the way the label looks, right? It might get wet. But remember, using an ice bath is a very common professional practice. The next time you go to a restaurant, pay attention. You'll see that your wine is not being chilled on just ice. It's being chilled in an ice bath. Now, what about if your wine is too cold? Perhaps you put it in the fridge, forgot about it, or you left it there overnight, and now it's just too cold to serve. There are ways to deal with that as well. If you have time, simply put your wine on the counter. Allow it to come to room temperature naturally. This will take some time, so you need a little bit of extra time for this, but it is a nice, gentle way to warm up your wine. And you can place that wine somewhere where your guests can see it and have a bit of a conversation about it when they come in to your party before you serve it. Another option is similar to the bath idea for cooling down your wine, except this time we're going to warm it up by placing some warm water in a bucket and submerging your wine into that bucket. Now you want to rotate it a little bit. No matter what kind of bath you do want to keep rotating that wine. But in about 15 to 20 minutes, you will have a warmer wine. Again, I'll caution you, if you care about what the label looks like, you may not want to submerge it in water. But if that's not overly important to you, the warm bath can work well. And there's a third option, and that is decanting your wine. When you decant your wine, if it's in a bottle that's too cold, you're transferring it to a vessel that is warmer, so that will automatically increase the temperature of the wine. Similarly, as you pass the wine from vessel to vessel, the air is meeting the wine itself and warming it up as well. And you get a little bit of an added bonus. When you decant your wine, you aerate it at the same time. So if you have a younger wine or a wine with a stronger tannic structure, you can oxygenate that wine and soften those tannins while also warming it up. So there you go. There are some options for how you can cool or warm down your wine if you need to in a pinch. Now off you go. Go enjoy some great wine with great company. Wishing you lots of peace, love, light, and of course, really good wine at the right temperature. Cheers.